Hey guys, my name is Gabby if you're new to the channel, and today we're talking about brutal honesty and why it's important to be brutally honest with yourself, but also to ask people who are closest to you to be brutally honest with you. Before we jump into the video, I just want to say that I have new coaching spots that are opening up, so if you're interested in life and mindset coaching and you want to do some deep and incredible work, you can go to the link in the description, you can read more about it, and you're also able to schedule a free 30-minute call with me if you have any more questions and you want to learn more about it. But for now, let's get into the video. Brutal honesty. Oh my God, this is so important when it comes to personal development and just your growth as a human being. What do I mean when I say that you have to be brutally honest with yourself? Well, being honest with yourself goes hand in hand beautifully with self-awareness. We are aware of, the patterns that we have that are not serving us, or we are aware of our behaviors that we pursue that are also not serving us. And by being honest with ourselves, we're able to call ourselves out on our BS. So perfect example would be me, because we're all here sharing what we're dealing with and we all want to grow as human beings. So it's only fair that I'm going to share with you an example from my life. So one of the things that I do, and now I have self-awareness over it and I'm really working on it, is that I can get snappy. And by snappy, I mean that I get defensive. If there's something that I'm really passionate about or something that's really important to me, rather than having a calm discussion with somebody and being able to look at a lot of different points of view, I get defensive. And I know why I get defensive. It comes from my childhood. We don't have to get into that story. It's not about the story. And at the end of the day, it's not about where the pattern came from. The thing is, I've had this for years and years, probably since I was like 8 years old, that when somebody gives their opposing opinion to me, I take it as a threat. Now, it's not a threat, and as I talked to you about, the subject so many times, it's never about the outside world and it's never about what anybody else says, it's about what we make it mean. And what I make these things mean, an opposing opinion, is that I am being attacked and I am not safe. So what do? I have to protect myself, and I don't want to get hurt. So what I do is I put my defenses up and I get snappy, because if I'm snappy, it means that I'm not being vulnerable anymore. It means that I'm not being, open-minded anymore, and I just want to block off myself from potential harm, right? So this is one of the patterns that I do, and honestly, it is ridiculous because that defensiveness is going to come at the most unexpected or even inappropriate moments, right? Like, for example, I could be talking to somebody about vegetables and, I could say that I love kale and mushrooms, and they're gonna say that they don't like kale and mushrooms and it's the most ridiculous thing because it's disgusting. And I could get defensive about that because I know the benefits of kale and I love kale. So if somebody is just like dismissive, being like, oh yeah, whatever, kale is BS, I'd be like, what do you mean? No, it's not. Blah, 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 right? So it's not about even in what situations the patterns come up. It's just the fact that these patterns are present. So I was never really fully aware of these patterns until I got into my first serious relationship and I lived with my ex, and he would point out those patterns to me and it made me upset even more. And then my family would point out these patterns to me and I would get also upset. And then I realized, oh, wait a second, I think there's a reason these people are telling me that I have these patterns, because it's not serving me. I'm not a snappy person. I'm not a rude person. I'm not like a negative person. So these patterns are just something that has been going on for so long, I simply wasn't aware of them. So self-awareness and honesty goes hand in hand, right? And sometimes we're able to see our patterns ourselves first, rarely, and other times, most commonly, other people point out the patterns to us. And when I was doing a lot of personal development seminars, and I did one last year that lasted 9 or 10 months, that was truly a no BS approach. Whatever patterns you had going on, they were coming to the surface, and the seminar leaders were bringing them up and like giving you to, like, showing them to you, right? So they just served as mirrors, being like, this is what your pattern is, and you might not like it that I'm telling you this, but that's the reality of it, right? So either you can just be completely ignorant and pretend like it's not happening and keep going through life the way you've been going through life, if you like it. However, on the other side of it, you can change it and you can get rid of these things that are not serving you and become the person who you want to be. So when it comes to brutal honesty, first step, especially if you've never really done a lot of personal development work, or you don't know what patterns you have, right? It's like this blind spot a lot of the times, because we live with ourselves and we have these patterns and habitual behaviors that we do. We're simply not aware of them anymore. When we are presented and we are going through our day-to-day life, we're not able to see our habitual behaviors, our habitual reactions, our habitual patterns. So we need somebody on the outside to show that to us. So whether it's going to seminars, working with a coach, or sitting down and asking your closest family or friends to be like, hey, I want you to be completely honest with me. I'm not going to take it personally, but how do you think I'm doing in this area? And what are some patterns that you might see in me that are not serving me, or that are not the greatest, that I might not be aware of. Also, it's very important that you do it with people who you really trust and who really care for you and want to see you grow. Because if you just get a friend who just wants to be mean to you and say nasty things to you, that's not the same as asking them to be honest with you and help you grow. So number one, get a coach, get a friend, get a family member, go to a seminar, go to a workshop, and see how somebody else could give you feedback on what you're doing and the way you're showing up in life. That is very, very, very powerful work, because when somebody else shines awareness to your patterns, that's when you can begin to investigate and get curious about why you do what you do, and that's where you can begin to change. Number two is, if you've already developed some self-awareness and you've been in the personal development journey, you're able to do that with yourself. Now I am very aware of my patterns, and I am able to see old patterns or even new patterns pop up without necessarily having somebody else to point them out to me. And I journal about it, I get honest about it, and let me tell you, it's not nice. It doesn't make you feel good. Nobody wants to admit that they're being, snappy, or that they're being dismissive, or they're being this and that, because our ego puts its defenses up, right? It's like, oh no, don't say that. I'm gonna fight you. So the ego doesn't like to be told that it's wrong. The ego doesn't like to admit that, we're not the smartest, we're not the best, we're not the most incredible. But, we have to put the ego aside and really deal with the discomfort of brutal honesty and brutal self-awareness if we want to grow and if we want to change. So I really want you to remember this, and if you have some self-awareness, as I said, journal, think about your patterns, see, okay, what are some of the habitual patterns that I can see that I do no matter where I am or no matter who I'm with. And also ask your closest friends and family members to assist you on this journey, and ask them what patterns they might see or what behaviors they see in you that are not really serving you. And as I said, if you are interested in working with me, I have new coaching spots opening up. I'm really, really excited. So you can go to the link in the description. As I said, you can schedule a free 30-minute call with me if you have any questions, if you want to learn more about it. But I really, really hope that you're able to be brutally honest with yourself, because that is the greatest act of self-love. If we can be honest with ourselves and say, this is why I do this negative pattern, and I do it because, and it's not serving me because, and I want to change it. Be honest with yourself, be self-aware of your patterns and what's going on in your inner world. And I really hope that this video served you and helped you maybe open up your eyes a little bit more to this subject. If you want to see more, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Bye!